with consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. All motions and votes of the Affordable Housing Trust at this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. With that, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:01. I am Mike Luster, the Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. Chris?
Chris McCarthy, Affordable Housing Trust.
Ruth?
Ruth Pino, Affordable Housing Trust.
Heather?
Heather Daigle, Affordable Housing Trust.
Joe?
Joe Bertolino, Affordable Housing Trust.
Deanna?
Deanna Fay, Affordable Housing Trust.
Greg?
Oh, I'm unmuted. Greg Cadavatore, Planning Director.
And David?
David Fields, Community Development Director.
Hey, I think that, did I get everybody? Wow. So far, so good. First and only real true item is to review the second draft of the strategic plan. Pretty much my thoughts, I read it through a couple times over the weekend, and there was just a couple of minor things from a housekeeping. I think Ruth brought it up at the first, but at the meeting we had 3 weeks ago.
Yes, it still says Harbor Light in it. I
Yeah, it still
have that
says
on
a
my list too.
Harbor Light project, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I got that as well.
Okay.
Mike, the other thing I just wanted to bring up, and maybe it's not something we need to clarify, but I'm not really comfortable in how it says that we've supported 162 affordable units.
Well, she did change the terminology she used, right, on that?
I'd have to go back to it. I have it up on my own computer. Let me go to it. It's just that I don't want people to get the idea that we've funded 162 units.
Well,
We
that's
gave
the way,
them-
that's the way the original draft was stated, funded the construction of.
Yeah,
Now, this
but
just says
I think we
supported.
provided leverage is really the accurate way to look at it. Where is
So to date, the trust has provided, has supported or provided leverage for the construction of,
I'm much more comfortable with that.
has provided leverage.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't. We know what leverage means, but a lot of people won't know what leverage means. I'm not sure you use that term.
There's a better way to, in that particular paragraph, what it says is to date, the trust has supported the construction of 162 affordable units. And I just think there has to be a really clear understanding in however it is we word it, that we didn't build 162 units. We provided leverage.
Is it
I
possible, to say funded or supported? Is that not clear enough?
Contributed, maybe?
I like that word.
How about contributed to projects that have
I
resulted
like
in?
funded.
I
what
like
you
it.
said, funded,
I like
funded,
that.
and supported.
Greg, say that again.
That's
Have contributed to projects that have resulted in, and then the number.
I like it.
I like it.
Okay.
I just want to go back to, what page are you on right now?
4,
That's
under
how-
the
Okay.
introduction.
Okay. I've got something on 5.
And then on page
Um,
4 is where it has the photo of the Action Building and it still says Harbor Light, so that just needs to come out.
Yep.
So I'm gonna make notes on my draft, and you want me to reach out to Jen with these changes?
Mike, if you wanted, we can, I can probably take them down and I'll reach out to her.
Okay, perfect. Did you say you had something else on page 4, Ruth?
No,
Just the image still has the wrong caption, so we'll fix
yes.
that.
And Greg had something on 5?
Yeah, so the reference to our inclusionary ordinance is incorrect. So the under trust funding sources, the first bullet towards the end, we don't currently allow for off-site. In the ordinance, it's either on-site or the potential for in lieu payment. And the calculation for in the lieu payment is a little bit different than what she's footnoted, so I will give her the proper citation for that.
Cash payment. Greg to correct. Okay. I like the how she moved, Jen moved the CPA and we to potential. I wasn't comfortable with that under funding sources.
Where are you? At what page, Michael?
Page 6, we had asked, she had originally had it under trust funding sources.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't, so we moved it to potential. And then I think it was Chris who asked her to add a blurb on private donations, which we have never done. But might as well have it in there. Somebody's distorted. Is that you, Chris?
It is me. I'm not actually driving, but I'm just finished going to a bad spot.
Are you able to hear us okay?
I can hear you clearly.
And we can hear you clearly now. Can you repeat what you were saying?
I was just saying, yeah, I was repeating what you had said. Private donations or public,
Okay.
if that's the right word, spot to put it.
So what do you mean by public? There's a whole lot of definition around that.
Yeah, I guess that's not the right thing to say. City, I guess more city-owned property. It would be city-owned property, but that,
But I don't think that would belong under this heading of private donations. I mean,
no, you're right, you're right.
This is more, yeah, these are funding sources, but I later in the presentation, it talks
Yes.
about city-owned land.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually driving and trying to contribute.
Okay.
I'll keep quiet for the next 5 minutes until I pull into my driveway.
As far as typos and any errors or omissions on the next few pages, I have one on 9. It's under 5-year priority actions. That sentence is a little choppy. Directly below lists the priority actions and indicates short-term, medium-term, ongoing and initiatives, the MAHT. I think you're on mute, Greg.
That's one I caught as well, because in the beginning of the draft, after Gloucester Affordable Housing Trust, it's forevermore in the draft, the trust. So I think there was a little maybe find and replace there that didn't occur. So I think that sentence should probably read directly below, list the priority actions and indicate short-term, medium-term, ongoing initiatives. The trust will focus its funding, time, and energy on over the next 5-year strategic planning period.
I didn't know if MAHT was left in from a previous template she had or.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably the case.
Yeah. All right, so
And
you've got,
that and shouldn't be there. It's ongoing initiatives. The trust will focus its funding, time, and energy.
so
got that
tell me
one.
exactly where you are, Greg.
So we
Exactly.
are on the top of page 9,
Okay.
the end of the second sentence.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay,
There were just a couple of extra word and reference to the trust should just be the trust.
and there's another
I'm
one.
gonna bug out for about 2 or 3 minutes and I'll get right back on.
All right, Chris. I have another one that I might be picky on and under short-term, 1 year, fiscal year 24, number 3. Could that just be active outreach, actively outreach to local or active outreach?
It should be active.
Okay,
Act.
and
Fine.
again,
Got it.
that's picky, but we might as well have it clean.
Yep.
And I think that was it for my corrections. As far as corrections, typos, errors or omissions, I mean, before we get into the substance of it, that's all I had for that part. Anyone else have corrections?
The only thing I am unmuted. I just wanted to make sure, because I know that there were things that you had discussed as potential initiatives, and there was a lot of back and forth, whether you're going to support things or not. One bullet under on page 7, the third to last from the bottom, it says update housing plan.
Oh,
I'm not sure that's exactly what you guys would do, but you'd certainly participate in any
Yeah.
potential update of a housing plan.
So we could add the word. Or we could strike it. I think you had actually asked to strike it, Greg. at the
we were
last-
gonna strike it. That
Actually-
was actually in my notes too, and I
Okay,
kind
we'll
of figure
strike
out
it.
where that was.
I
But it
thought I
may-
remembered that too, Deanna.
But say exactly where you are, Greg. I'm on page
So-
7.
Page 7, the third to last bullet.
Updated housing plan at the bottom, Ruth.
Yeah, I don't think I want to delete it. I think that the housing production plan from 2017, there's been a census since then, a pandemic, and I think that I don't know that it's a prior, but in the next 5 years, there's probably going to be an adjustment to the housing production plan, which we don't do, but we could be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, that's more community developments department.
Well, Maybe
I
we
think-
could say to
Actively
assist-
participate in housing planning. How
There
about
you
that?
go.
I was gonna say,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect.
Greg, do you have a this document in a format where you could make the changes, or are you gonna provide them to Jen?
I don't know that I have it in a Word doc. So I'll probably give her just page reference line by line. And then
Okay.
have her finalize it.
Okay. Anyone else have any corrections with the overall?
When you look at the grid, I just want everyone to look at that. There's something that's highlighted in yellow. Check on timing of city study, and I don't even know if there is a city study.
Is that the comprehensive?
Under number 5, engage with the city effort to study the impacts of short-term rental properties, but is that happening?
I thought there was something that was gonna happen with that. Or is it just an amendment that might be proposed?
I don't know.
So we're not, sorry, this is David here. We're not doing any type of study for short-term rentals currently, and I don't think we're proposing one in the future. I would assume it will be discussed in some fashion in the comprehensive plan, which we're undertaking. The current action is being put forward by Councilor Gross, Tony Gross. I'm not sure where that stands. I think he's still working on it, but that's where we're at. There's no overall study specifically geared towards short-term rentals.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think it could stay in with a rewording. To assist the city in any effort to study the impacts of short-term rental properties.
Which I believe is in our plan.
Mm.
But if there's not something. But I think this particular action item was based on the city having that plan in motion, and I think the question came up and someone was gonna check on it. David's telling us that it's still with the council, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, and again, I could be reading this wrong, but this is looking more of like someone's conducting a study on it specifically. And as I said, it's will likely come up in the comprehensive plan for sure, but I'm not sure if this is the 1 year FY24 action plan, so that's early days.
Because we have in our priority actions, I believe we have. Where is it? Engage with the city, engage with the city effort to study the impacts of short-term rental properties on the city's housing supply and needs. And then establish subcommittees to focus on the components of the trust work. For example, subcommittee topics could include D, housing stability, short-term rental study and initiative. So it's in our plan.
Maybe we should just strike it from the short term for now.
Well, maybe from the action plan, we should strike it, and that's probably why it's in yellow.
Yep. Well, the other one in number 6, seek amendment to trust ordinance, and honestly, I'm not remembering what that was about.
Oh, right now, apparently, we're
Quarterly
supposed to be
reporting.
providing quarterly, reporting to the
Oh.
mayor. So we're gonna try to amend that to annual, and I think George was providing a quick annual report to them, and so I guess I have to do something eventually. So we were gonna try to amend that from quarterly to annually.
I remember, but it should say that, it should be specific.
Can I just backtrack for a second here? Sorry, wrapping my head around, on the action plan graph. The number 5, engage with the city effort to study impacts of short-term rentals. And then number 7 on page 9. So maybe that on the graph, it should more reflect number 7 around, that was about subcommittee topics. So maybe that number 5 should be established subcommittee topics or subcommittees.
Yeah, good.
Oh, we already actually have that as number 7. So I think we can just strike it all together.
Right.
Okay,
And back to number 6, Ruth.
yes,
So that, I think it's just a shorter way of putting it on this grid because it is explained on the previous page.
yeah, no problem, just,
Yeah. Just for the sake of keeping the boxes small and not having, you know what?
Yep.
So maybe number 6 should say seek amendment to the trust ordinance on AHT reporting.
yeah, well, I mean, it could be in the next box, draft amendment and submit to city council, so you could just readjust the bigger box to clarify.
But I think if number 6 was explained what the trust ordinance was referring to.
Yep. I
The
agree.
trust ordinance on annual reporting. Something like that. The matrix here is new. This wasn't in the original draft. This was something that was added since the last draft, I believe. Does anyone remember seeing this the first time?
No,
No.
So, I mean, to me, I think we've beat this up pretty well the last couple times, but I want to give anyone an opportunity to talk about the meat and potatoes on page 9, which is the 5-year priority actions. Is there anything that stands out or people want to feel strongly about? Again, I know we beat this up pretty well. But here's an opportunity. Everyone in agreement with the priority actions at this point?
yes, what the grid helps me to do is focus on, just focus.
On the calendar, on the actual calendar of it,
On
right?
the actual calendar part of it
Yeah.
and what's the immediate need, what are our immediate checkoff list.
Yeah.
And one of the things at the very top, it collaborate with the Community Preservation Committee. And that process starts pretty quick
Yeah.
over the spring. And it's, it's suggesting that we attend CPC meetings. And we have, I'm just trying to go through all the discussion we've had over the last 3 meetings. And did we actually say we were going to present an application?
Well, here's what happened. I had a couple of conversations with the, Greg, can you remind me of the gentleman's name?
Matt Lumberg.
Matt Lumberg. And I had told him what our hopes were with CPC. And he got back to me after bringing it up with the CPC and just gave me a list of bulleted items, which included our mission and what our strategic plan is. So this is the first, I believe this is the first step in reaching back out to them.
Perfect.
What, final draft. So I think, other than those housekeeping issues that we already went through, I'm pleased with the final draft. I don't know how everyone else feels, and I think we're ready to move.
I think so too.
Do you need a vote to approve it as amended, or shall we wait until we get the final amended version to do that?
To me, I'd like to approve it based on the amendments, just so we can put this to bed and get our agenda going.
Yes.
Mhm.
good
Because
with
these are
that.
only minor, syntax and whatnot changes. Does anyone else disagree with that?
I think the faster we get it signed up, the better.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing material that we changed other than some changing an adverb to a verb and
Mhm.
some cleanup.
Can I ask a favor
Of whom?
of all of you?
Yeah.
So again, this grid is just really helpful to me in absorbing the entire work piece. But actively outreach to encourage competitive applications, compile a list of developers. And my feeling is the word builders is a more positive word to use than the word developer. And I'm only thinking about the people who are reading this. And that's the focus of what that number 3 means. So there's something to think about. You don't have to change it, but this grid, I've looked at it many times since we received this draft, so very helpful to have it.
Mhm.
I have a question too regarding the grid and just the timeline. So looking at like the March column, for example, hiring a housing coordinator. So, I mean, that's sort of like out of our realm. That's more going to be city staff that goes through that process. So
No, it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that would be,
Can you?
No, I mean, that was
that
one of
will
the,
work?
sure. Well, I mean, certainly we would provide some support, but that's a decision for you to make as a trust. One of the things that Jen had pointed out is, there's certain capacity within our department, and then there are a number of different initiatives here. And whether or not the trust might want to have their own staff person. So that's, I guess, maybe you might want, I mean, again, that's a decision that you have to make. This says hire it. So maybe that's something that should be couched a little bit in terms of defining the roles and needs of the trust, and then potentially putting out a job description. But that would be you making the decision that you want to hire somebody to support your efforts, and it would be supported out of your funding as well.
Okay, all right.
I think on that front, sorry, just for what it's worth, it could be a specific individual that you identify, or it could be a firm. You know, there's consulting firms that do affordable housing work that could be on call to you if that's more palatable slash, you know, if you're not quite there yet to have somebody doing your bidding every day.
Mhm.
So I think back to what Ruth said. Ruth, do you mean in place of, it says compile list of developers, should you put builder developers?
If you want to leave the word developer, it's fine, but I think adding the word builder is really
with-
smart.
I think builder developers. Yeah, I think that's smart, definitely. And the same with the next box too. Builder developers for the next little box next to it.
Is
And
there a
we-
is that a slash or just builder
I think it's-
developer?
I think both, whatever, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, builder developer's fine, but a slash makes sense.
Yeah,
For sure.
I have another question regarding the housing coordinator. Sorry, jumping back and forth. So when we look at like number 2, for example, creating the one-stop application, or I think some of the things involved with that too is the updating, creating a web page for the Affordable Housing Trust and that sort of thing. Is that something that the housing coordinator would do, or would that be something that a board member, a housing trust member would do? Or is that city staff? So I just, some clarity on like how, I'm not clear on how roles get separated between trust members and staff and potential staff.
Yeah, so I think on that one too, we can assist on that, meaning city staff with the application. It'd be great to have input from you, but since we are also working with the CPC as well as all of our CDBG programs, I think that what we're thinking of is it's a one-stop application for all of that, including your work as well. So it would be multifaceted, and some of it we're already working on or working through. In terms of the website, the city website has to be updated by us. So I don't think we'd be able to give access to an outside party.
Okay. So we could
You do have a
create-
webpage now, though.
We do?
You do.
So we could create sort of an outline of what it is that we would be looking to, like as a trust, we could work on creating an outline of what we would want to be included on the web page. And then
You could certainly do that. You could certainly do that and wireframe it and get it back to us. I will say it's the city website, so it's mostly outward facing information. So it depends on what you're thinking of. It's not going to be necessarily interactive, but
well,
yeah, if you have ideas.
the
I'm
trust
actually-
doesn't have a web page. It has a link on the city's page, right? I mean, it's on the city's site, and we just have a section on the site. Yeah, that's what
Right.
you were,
the one that
Correct.
just has our membership, like who's on it, and
yep.
a brief description. All
It
right.
posts the agenda and the minutes and yeah,
I,
but it should have a link to our application too.
we don't have an application yet, though.
Well, we have one, but I don't think there's a link to it.
I've never seen one.
The YMCA filled one out, Central Grammar filled one out.
Okay, I've never.
Yeah, I
don't-
think Jamie had circulated that at one point. Maybe it was more for the benefit of Jen, just to see, what that is. That's obviously something that also could be revised, but
Yeah,
I think that, that was definitely something that was identified by a number of folks of having more of a presence, providing more information. So, if there's a framework that somebody wants to work on and, link to things, our website isn't the most dynamic. And one of the other things that, can become a challenge is making sure that things are maintained, that links are still functioning. But yes, right now you have a pretty bare bones, application page that if you wanted to add things and provide a little bit more outreach, and then if you do develop programs that have, timing and deadlines and submission, that's something that could be worked on.
Maybe could we circulate the current application to trustee members now so that we can sort of review
Yep.
that and provide any feedback?
Sure.
Anything else that might be included that I'm not sure what would be.
I'm guessing it's in paper format right now, so it's gonna have to be scanned, right?
Oh, no, it's a digital form.
We do have one in digital?
I'm not sure if it's a fillable form, but I think it's at
Right,
least
right.
in a Word format, yeah.
Music Awards in Los Angeles on March 27th. Nominate yourself or another small business owner for the chance to win a flower chip for.
Mike,
Yep,
just wanted to just sort of bring, looking at the grid, again, it is definitely helpful. It brings you back to the list of different things. We had discussed and we sort of actually created a little sort of subcommittee and we formed and sort of voted on back in the summer regarding making some minor zoning changes to the inclusionary housing. Wonder if we could find, actually find a box that we could put that in so we can get moving forward on that little change that we had discussed and voted on moving back in the summer. I think we need to, if we're gonna do it, we should probably put it in a box.
well, if it was deemed a short-term, one-year action item, then it should be. See,
Yes.
I believe that the items in the boxes correspond with our short-term priority actions on page 9.
Well, yes, it says setting up the subcommittees. It doesn't say a specific action. We have one specific action to move forward on forwarding a zoning change. So I think it'd be good to put in here so that we can act and push it forward and make a small success if it goes through.
Yeah.
Your thoughts? And Greg, your thoughts as well. Among everybody's thoughts.
So I think the idea is, yeah, we're gonna, in the March to April timeframe, we're gonna determine the subcommittee topics, which we have outlined in line 7.
Yeah,
Then we're gonna, throughout the early spring into early summer, discuss each of the subcommittees to clarify purpose of each, and then by the end of July, form the subcommittees.
gotcha. Well, and then it would, from when we discussed it, that'll be almost over a year from, it's something we had talked about, that we moved forward to the community development office and that was last July.
Yep.
And I think waiting a year to get it done, I think, I don't know, I think it's something,
I thought we voted on that in a previous meeting.
we did, it just hasn't got moved. And Greg could probably explain better why, maybe waiting for this plan to get complete before we start acting on that sort of stuff. That was my thought, why it hasn't moved up through the process, but it's ready to move and I think we should get going on it. That's all.
And yeah, I mean, and Chris, the agenda for the past 3 meetings has been loaded with the strategic plan. And probably that's really what happened.
No, I just want to get it moved forward. If it's something we voted to move forward on, I think we just gotta get it moved forward. That's all. If that's what people want to do. I don't want to go through setting up committee. I don't think we should go through setting up committees going. It's just, I think it's something we voted on and something that we should move it forward. That's all. If that's what the board wants to do, I just, we had an idea, we discussed it. I think it's time to move it forward. And I think maybe we're just waiting to get this done. And if we get the strategic plan done, but I just, if we've already talked through it, I think, and there's no changes, I just think we put it in a box, that's all, so that we know that, hey, we're gonna do it, we're gonna put it forward, put it to the city council, planning development, whatever it is we have to do. I just think we should do it, that's all, and put it in a box. Whatever people think the box should be, whether it's now, 2 months, but I think we've got to do it and not,
If we took a vote for something like that this last summer, and I'm engaging my brain to make sure I remember, then we should move it forward. And we
Mhm.
should do it appropriately. And Greg Catamaturi will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we send it to the planning board. Would that be correct?
I mean, you could send it to the planning board as coming from the trust, or you can send them to the city council.
Okay, whatever
'Cause
your advice is.
Probably you are advisory to the city council and the mayor, so it probably would make sense for it to be submitted to the city council, and they can then either refer it for informal review to the planning board, or if somebody wants to make a presentation to them, they may initiate the zoning discussion around it out of the gate. Is that
So-
something they can also do?
So can I recommend that we keep referring to it as refer it? I believe Chris put something together and MJ had agreed to wordsmith it, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
why don't we do this? Why don't we find out if we've got that finalized from MJ? And then we can,
No, we have
have-
that finalized. I think Greg wanted to review it or something before, sent it to him last time. I'm not, I'll have to dig it out.
If I recall right too, when it was presented at meeting, we sort of accepted to pass it on, but with changes that we didn't accept it in the entire
That
form.
makes,
It was
that makes
presented
sense
to us.
to me. That makes
yeah,
sense.
I just don't, so do we have a wordsmith copy that's in Greg's hands? Is that true?
I'll-
Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I think there was gonna be a need to be some additional work done with
Yep,
MJ, myself, and Greg to just finalize it, to make it, the proper form for whatever committee whether it was a planning and development, the planning and development committee or the planning board. I'm not sure which one. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are you saying that it's ready for us to review it, or it's not ready for us to review it?
Well, we reviewed it and we voted to pass it on.
With changes.
But with changes?
Yeah, I believe so.
but why don't we do this? Why don't we touch base from between now and the next meeting? And that can
Okay.
be an agenda item for the next meeting. How's that?
No, that sounds fine. I just don't want it sitting up in midair for 6 or 8 or 9 months without moving it forward. I like to get things
I
move
just don't-
forward.
So if
voted
anyone
on it.
knows if MJ is checking email, I can do that after this meeting. I can connect you and MJ. You can send her your draft. She can wordsmith it and we'll put it on the
I
agenda
think,
for
yeah,
the,
I think we'd already done that. But let me dig it out and see where we're at again. It's been a very long period of time, and I just
Yep.
been patient, but I if we're trying to push something forward, I'd like to not have it sit there. That's all.
I'm ready to do it at the next meeting if you are.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris, I appreciate you bringing this up.
No, I understand. I appreciate it. I like to get on the committees, and if we're gonna do something, I like to move forward on doing it. That's all. I don't, when we work, we discussed it and have it sit there. I just don't like, to sit there unless there's a good reason. That's all.
Yeah, if we get the final version, Chris, we'll put it on the next meeting.
Okay, that's all I'd
Yes.
ask.
Mhm.
So
So do
we
we-
good with the strategic plan?
Pardon?
Does everyone like this plan? To get back to,
Do you need did you want to approve the strategic plan now, this meeting, or did you want to wait till it was completely done next meeting?
I had suggested we move forward with the plan subject to the grammatical and spelling and.
Do you need a
and-
motion for that?
Yep,
Anybody want to do a motion?
I'll move to approve the plan before us this evening, subject to the amendments.
do we have a second?
Second,
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Hey,
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call. Deanna,
Yes.
Mike Luster, yes. Ruth,
yes,
Chris,
Yes.
Heather,
yes.
and Joe Bertolino.
Yes.
Terrific. Great work, everyone. Personally, thank Greg for coordinating with Jen, and Jen was terrific through this whole process. So thank you both.
I think she did a great job.
Absolutely.
yeah, she was great to work with.
Good.
Strategic plans behind us. Before we adjourn, just so we know what we're doing, Chris, after this, I'm gonna send an email to you and
Okay,
MJ to make sure we have the final draft, and then we'll get it to Greg to get on the agenda for the next meeting.
got it.
Perfect. Anyone else have anything?
Um,
No, thank you for everyone for all this work. I
Great.
would like to know, just confirm the next meeting date before we adjourn.
I think we're back on our normal schedule in March.
So I have, would that be March 6th? It's the first Monday in March, correct?
No, I thought it was late.
That was the third.
Well, that's why I brought this up, because is it the third Monday that we meet? Okay, I have it written down for March 20th, actually.
Yeah, I have the
Oh,
third
yeah.
Tuesday of every month.
I have the 20th.
Yep, 20th.
Did I say, what did I say? The 30th? I
To
didn't
the
mean,
sixth at first.
March,
Yeah.
March 20th is
Yep.
what I have written down as. Okay.
I got it.
So should people be thinking about what subcommittees we might want to have and what subcommittees people might want to be part of and work on for the next meeting, and also looking at our action plan and seeing how we could expand on some of our goals?
I think
with
the
what-
action,
yeah.
that's a good point, Deanna. I think the action plan will determine the agenda going forward, right?
Yeah,
But it'd be great if we had some thought into it before our next meeting, so
hmm
we have.
I think that's a really good idea. Give us something to talk about the next meeting too.
And just thinking of going forward, if you're thinking about subcommittees that are, kind of subject specific, you do have the ability to meet in person. If you do that, you should think about, whose schedule works with others, so that it's something that you'll be able to establish pretty quickly without, kind of chasing each other to try to set up meeting times. And when you do that, you'll also, have to think about preparing minutes for those meetings. So there's a little bit of administrative work. It'll certainly be a lot easier for you to meet in subcommittees if you're all committed to a certain topic. But you do have the ability again to meet in person. So that's something, we'll just need an agenda to post at least 48 hours in advance, and then someone will have to be responsible for running the meeting and then also keeping minutes.
So do the subcommittees, do those need to be like public meetings? Like,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, that's
Yep.
the thing about
making
subcommittees.
sure, get that right.
So that's the thing I would say, there in that it says, think about forming. You might want to be a little bit more linear than having, 2 or 3 subcommittees, because that's a lot of management and corralling back. But I think it's a good point, Deanna, to think about that for the next meeting,
Great.
for a discussion. And then you would establish, a chairperson for the subcommittee, and then they would be responsible for kind of managing that moving forward.
And do those need to be recorded as well?
They do, if they're in-person meetings, they do not need to be recorded. I know there's a lot of effort to try to establish the ability to do that. Not all of our meeting rooms have that capability. So we're in a position right now where we predominantly either do remote or you can do an in-person meeting. The legislation runs out March 31st. We don't know if we'll be able to continue to use remote participation unless the legislature acts. So it may be that after March 31st, there will only be the possibility for in-person meetings. But if you do elect to do that, we can try to coordinate meeting rooms that would be available, and then somebody would just have to keep track of minutes.
Well, just the other reminder is that Pond Road closes at 4 o'clock, correct, Greg?
Pond Road does, but City Hall, we have a small conference room downstairs. The auditorium, if it's available. There are other meeting rooms that might be available.
Okay.
Okay,
Can I just make a short announcement just for information before we adjourn?
Mhm.
Last summer, Mike and Heather and I attended Housing Institute, the first Housing Institute that Harborlight put on last summer in Salem. And they are bringing one to Gloucester. So they are planning a 2-day Housing Institute on March 8th and 9th, and it's going to be at the Senior Center. I think right now it's kind of a save the date, and I think there's more information to come. They did send out an announcement by email, but not all the information was completely in place. So I just wanted to let everybody know to save that date. It's a really good opportunity, and since we are having community outreach in our agenda, in our planning, this would be a really great time for us to be there, be present, and be part of a community-wide event around.
thanks,
Thank you
Deanna.
so much, Deanna, for bringing that up, because I missed the one in Salem because I had a conflict, but it's
It was really
exciting.
good.
It was good. And do you know
Wonderful.
if it's the same itinerary on 8th and the 9th, or is it a 2-day
I need a little clarification on that. I
Okay.
believe it's going to be like 4 segments, 2 on each day.
Oh, okay, so they will be different. All right,
I think so. I just want to verify. And
yep,
my early conversations with Marvin from Harborlight, there was potentially going to be like food provided and possibly some daycare if families wanted to attend.
terrific.
The invitation that they sent out today said that it was geared towards, municipal committees and boards and staff and that sort of thing. But in conversation, Marvin mentioned that it would be good for community members as well. So just to get some real factual sort of, information from people that work in it, in housing and planning. So
Terrific. Could you forward the correspondence via
Yeah.
email to us?
I'm just waiting to just get some confirmation because something didn't look right at the time. I think the times were off and there wasn't a registration link. So as soon as I get
Perfect.
it, I'll forward it.
Yeah, I think we'd all look forward to those emails.
Terrific.
But you can save those dates because that's when it's scheduled.
Any other announcements? Thank you, Deanna.
Welcome.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
All right, thank you, everyone. This was a lot of work. I'm excited about it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Night, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Great.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, David.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good to see you all.